Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem video. This is a postmortem of my Blitz chess game number 121, where I was white, kicked off with d4, and my opponent played the interesting Budapest gambit. So let's check it out. d4, knight f6, c4 looks like could be a normal game. If he plays e6, we get to a Nimzo Indian, or maybe and then there's g6, which could be a King's Indian or a Grinfeld, but e6 and g6 as the top moves. But he plays e5, and this is Budapest gambit, and the thing to do is to take that pawn. It's not quite a free pawn because he immediately goes about rounding it up. And I think this bishop f4 line is a line where you hold on to the pawn. The game I was referring to was Ivanchuk versus Aronian. Aronian was white, and Ivanchuk was black. He played the Budapest gambit and got a decent position out of the opening, but Aronian played the line where he tried to hold on to the pawn. So I'll put a reference to that in the description of the video. So let's check out the bishop f4 line. Bishop f4, knight c6. Knight f3. That's interesting. So it's possible to take that pawn. Oh no, I'm sorry, knight f3. Yeah, so two attackers, two defenders, still holding on to the pawn, allowing this check, bishop b4 check, knight b d2, or knight c3. I think it was knight c3 that he played. Yeah, and bishop takes c3, crippling this pawn. It still seems like, yeah, how does, oh, queen d5. Now bishop takes c3. Yeah, so this is a line where white holds on to the pawn and suffers structural damage. So if you want to see an example of that, I'll put a link to that in the description. So another way to play it. I play in a more simple fashion where I don't try to go for too much. Let's go back and look at this in the opening book. See, so I played, he played knight g4, and I played, is this where I played a3 here? Let's check it out. I played knight f3. Okay. Yeah, he played knight f3 first. Just holding on to that pawn, and then he played knight c6 here. Bishop c5 could have been played there, in which case I would have played e3, but we transpose into that. I play a3 here, and that stops his bishop from coming to this square and pinning the knight on c3. So go back and just look at it. We're out of the book now, so I've gone out of the book by playing that a3 move pretty much. And then he played a5. If he had just played bishop c4 and I played e3, then we might have transposed back into a normal line, but between a3 and a5 we're pretty much out of the book. So after a5 I just develop my knight here. He plays bishop c5, and you see the chess engine spots an interesting move here, knight e4. To give white a significant advantage. Usually I'm just playing for a slight edge because I didn't know there are ways to get a great advantage. And it's a bit risky to leave this pawn. You know, it's currently under attack, but knight e4 defends the pawn and attacks the bishop, so it gains a tempo. And you can always play e3 later or some other move. So knight e4, bishop e7, bishop f4, defending the pawn. So maybe this is a way you can hold on to the pawn without suffering any sort of structural damage. But of course it requires black to have played these moves. I think maybe a5 was a wasted tempo in this position. Anyway, I didn't spot that idea. I just played e3, which you see is a second choice, but of course you got to keep your eyes open for the main chance in chess, as always. So there's an exchange here on e5. And just some normal development. And you see it's about even here. But somehow, yeah, somehow white keeps getting back to some slight advantage. So I played b3 here. The chess engine keeps wanting me to play f4, and that's it's a difficult move to play. It creates so many weaknesses, with holes here and there. So, unless you see an immediate tactical, yeah, okay, it dropped its evaluation there a bit, but it still thinks f4 is the top choice. Anyway, unless you see an immediate tactical justification for a move like f4, it's a hard move to play. Just b3, defending this pawn. Queen d7. No, cancel that. He castled here, sorry. I played bishop b2, and we're approaching the first blunder here. Queen e7, knight e4. This is all okay. Still about even, but I haven't given away my advantage yet. Bishop went to a7. Then g3. It's interesting that the chess engine wanted me to move my knight back to c3, so it didn't really care for this maneuver. But I feel a little bit weak on the king side here. It's sometimes an opportunity. Budapest gives black the opportunity to attack on the king side, and you've lost the knight that was sitting on f3 through this trade. So it makes sense to me to get a defender back to the king side. Okay, rook a d8 was played, putting his rook opposite my queen. So I get my queen out of the way. And f6, showing up the knight. Now I was thinking of f4 and queen to c3 as a possible idea. But he shores up the knight, and that pretty much kills that idea. So just centralizing my rooks, normal play. And queen to f7 was played here. And now I play bishop to d4, which is this was one of the computer choices. I thought it would be good for me to get rid of the dark squared bishop. He decides to retreat his bishop rather than trade it. And now, once again, f4, computer choice, or bishop to h5. It's an interesting idea. Okay, two good moves, but I play a bad move instead of playing a good move. One you won't see in any of the computer choices, c5. And almost as soon as I played it, I said, oh, what about this pawn here on b3? He can just take it. And then, oh, if he takes it, oh, there's a skewer. So immediately the evaluation changes, and now it's in black's favor. But not hugely in black's favor. It's like a pawn. So it's interesting. I guess because I have the bishop pair in compensation for being down the exchange. And now it says he should play d5 here rather than trade pawns. And that makes sense to me. This is a weak pawn, and it blocks in my bishop. It's isolated, and he can round it up later, and there's no reason for him to trade it off. And what's funny is that after this exchange here, the game is considered even once again by the chess engine. So anyway, I was just playing on. I thought I was worse at this point. He's got two extra pawns over here, and he's got a rook against a bishop, which is usually the better piece. If he could exchange everything off and go into an endgame, he would have a winning advantage. But I guess there's still enough force on the board to make it complicated, and the bishop pair is an advantage. So right now, he needs to do something about this threat. So if you don't see the threat in the position, why don't you take a second? So pretend you're black, and your first job before making your move as black is to assess what are white's threats. See if you spot the threat. Okay, I'm going to give it away. The threat that white has is bishop to b3, skewering the queen and the king on that diagonal. So pretty interesting, and my opponent missed it too. If you missed it, don't feel bad. But actually, you should spot things like that. That should be part of your routine scanning. And just like I should have spotted the other skewer when he took on b3. Part of your routine scanning should be to look for things like that. Okay, so he didn't spot that. Let's see. The chess engine thinks he should move the queen to d7, or maybe the king to h8. Just anything to get a piece off of this, but instead he played rook to d8, going after my bishop, and didn't take me too long to find this one. And now it's not so simple if you let the chess engine grind for a while. Well, first of all, if the knight interposes, you can just take it. If the rook interposes, I could take it and just win the exchange back. But there's an even stronger move. After rook d5, I can play the move e4. You'll see it's in the evaluation here. Rook d5 to block it, but then it's pinned and I can attack it with e4. So rook d5, what he ended up playing was rook d1 check, but basically they both lose a rook. And b6 is kind of a funny move. It attacks the queen. I mean, it attacks this bishop over here, and it lets me take the queen. I guess the net of all that would be about the same. Trading a queen for a bishop is about the same as losing a rook. Anyway, I think, so the computer engine pretty much settles on rook d1 check or rook d5, and my opponent played rook d1 check. But it's pretty much game over at this point. Just being, I mean, I'm only a piece up, but it's a simplified position with no rooks. I just need to get the queens off, and I have pretty straightforward win. So let's just play through. It's a matter of being careful and not giving away my advantage here. I made some space for my king so I wouldn't get mated on the back rank, and tried to blockade these pawns on the queen side. That's one of Black's sources of counterplay, is he's advanced his extra pawns on the queen side if he can get those advancing. So it's to my interest to try and blockade them and to trade off pieces if I can, especially the queen. And this move was this move f6 to defend the h-pawn was not particularly good. Probably just moving the queen. Oh yeah, allowing a queen trade. But allowing a queen trade is just losing too. So he tried something different. He defended the pawn, but gave away the f6 pawn. And now it says I could win with this knight h5. So this is kind of interesting. Let's just play this, just to show the quickest way to win. And if he takes here, the idea is bishop c2 check, and his king only has one square to g8, and then it's going to be a mate in 8. So I guess in this position, I didn't feel like there's. I actually wondered a little bit about that sacrifice, but you can see it's not a simple, mate in 3 or something. It takes quite a bit, and you're taking some risk when you play like that. So I thought I'll just keep it simple and go for the idea of trading pieces, bishop d4. And now this forces some trades, because I'm going to take the knight. If the knight moves, then I have a threat here of checkmate. So this is going to force a trade. He played h4 here to attack my knight, and of course I could have just taken on h4. I totally missed that in the game. Played knight e2, and but I'm still winning. c5 attacking my pawn, and now I can go ahead with my plan of taking and then forcing a queen trade here. And you see the evaluation changed from being like 10 or 15 points in my favor to only being 4 points. But it's much simpler to win this kind of position. So a more human way to play, perhaps, than going in for wild tactics when you already have a 1 position. So he plays king g7. I retreat the bishop. Again, I have to keep these pawns blockaded. And king f6, g3. Cancel that. g3. Yeah, I was just trying to make some space for my knight. g5, exchange. I have some extra pawns here, so I don't mind 1 or 2 exchanges. I have to keep enough pawns on so that I'm winning, but these 2 pawns here give me a winning advantage. Knight f4 was just a mistake, though. I mean, it still doesn't lose, but he could take right away and weaken my pawns and make it more difficult for me to win. But with extra piece and pawns pretty much even, should still be a straightforward win. So he decided not to trade. He went up with the king, and I'm able to chase the king away. The king can't go to this square because of this check, and I pick up another pawn. So not wanting to do that, he steps back, and then that allows my king to come forward. And I get here in time to keep his king from invading my camp. Now, it is important to watch your opponent's king and make sure it doesn't get up to any mischief. Yeah, I'm sorry, that wasn't what was happening. He played bishop to c3. And now I blockaded. Oh no, I played knight g6 first, going after this pawn. Plays his bishop back, and now I blockade here. No, I didn't. What did I play? Oh, I played f4 here. Just started advancing these pawns. And now I blockade here because I want to move my king away, and I don't want his king getting in once again. So I'm keeping all these squares guarded across here so his king can't cross over to my side. He plays bishop d8. I go here, and now I have an obvious plan of just marching these pawns down that he can't stop. So he went ahead and resigned at this point. But anyway, I thought that was an interesting game. Some tactical points there to consider. And so any comments you have, leave them in the section below, and I'll see you again later. Bye.